Hi, this is Pastor Jim of Real Life Church, and we're filming a little video segment today called Ask the Millers. I'm here with my wife, Yo, and normally when we interact, a lot of time it's just me on stage studying the Bible, preaching a sermon, and so this is a little bit more intimate conversation. We've had some friends of ours put together some questions that we thought people might want to know about our family, and these are going to be unique questions. And so I'm going to read these off, but if you have a question that you really want to hear us answer, you can comment or send it to us directly. We might do this segment again. We'll see.
We'll see.
There might be multiple takes before we get this one done.
We'll see how bad we fight.
Okay. So question number 1. Who is the funniest member of your family? And we both know exactly who it is.
Cohen.
It's our son. Our 13-year-old son is a goofball and always has been. He's the baby of the family. He's the entertainer and he's the comedian. I remember this time I had this video that I was actually looking for today, where he got a chair with wheels on the bottom, and he turned on a leaf blower and he blew himself around in circles in this warehouse. And I thought, yep, that is who our boy is.
And from a very young age, we have videos of him mocking Jim, making fun of him.
Yes, that's his favorite thing.
Yeah, like when he was 3, like, "You a ding dong."
Yeah, yeah. I said something about hey you ding dong, and he looked at me. He could barely speak English. He goes, "You a ding dong." So all right. Even this Sunday, I saw him parroting my gestures while watching me preach the sermon on Sunday. Like he's imitating me for no reason at all, just to do it, and that's who he is. Question number 2: what is your go-to karaoke song?
Journey's "Don't Stop Believing."
Yes, that is everybody's favorite. I like Piano Man.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel's first concert I ever went to when I was in like 8th grade, and so yeah, Piano Man was there. But I don't like karaoke, but my staff does, and so we end up singing an inordinate amount of karaoke, and there are
karaoke parties.
Embarrassing videos out there floating around. Yeah, we've had karaoke parties at our house actually. Number 3, here's a more serious one. What's the one of the better pieces of parenting or marriage advice that have ever been given to us? So this is from, I was thinking this. Do you remember this? We went and visited with my dad's parents at their house in Atlanta before we were married, and sat at their kitchen table and asked them about marriage. Do you remember this?
I don't think so.
So I remember this. I remember this distinctly because my grandfather was a comedian, and that got passed to my dad, and it skipped me, and then went to Cohen. But I remember asking this, and I think you asked the question. You said to John and Ruth, you said, "So what's kept your marriage together all these days? Probably 50 plus years."
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "I asked her to marry me, and then she made all the decisions, and that was that." That's what he said. He said something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was his solution to that.
Well, I don't know if this is advice so much as an observation. One person said, we all screw up our kids, so it's just a matter of how you're going to screw them up. So don't stress too much about, messing them up. You just get back on the bandwagon and try to pick up where you left off. Yeah, you do your best, knowing that no one's perfect. So that has stayed with me.
And you sort of get more than one pass. You have a formative influence on them when they're little, and then as they get older, you actually get to reset and parent a teenager, which is a little bit different because they have a higher level of comprehension of what you're doing. And then I bet, again, when our kids aren't yet adults, but when they're adults, I bet you again go through a shift in your relationship where they start to reflect on what you're trying to do as a parent. Because I know I've watched my parents change since I went to college, and that's helped shape our relationship.
Oh, I do remember a good illustration.
Okay.
It's a marriage one. It was from Jim Burns and Doug Fields, when they did that little conference over at APU, and they had a balloon. I think it was Doug Fields. He had a balloon, and he had a pink balloon and a blue balloon, and he put them one inside the other. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Inflated them, and he says, a lot of times you think that you lash out and that you're just hurting the person that you're lashing out at. He's like, but when you get married, the two become one. And so when you lash out at the other person, you're actually hurting yourself. So if you have the balloon inflated in another balloon and you pop it with a pin.
If you go for the middle one, you're going to hit the outside.
Right.
So there was one balloon inside another, and you can't pop the middle one without damaging the outside. Okay, so last question. Last question was, and we're going to answer this a little bit differently, I think. But the question is, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done or experienced on a date? And that reminded me of some dates that we used to go on that were not weird, but they were creative and they were unusual back when we lived in Hawaii.
Some of them were weird.
Weird but funny. So we had this tradition with this couple, our close friends Dave and Shayna Kusamoto, where every Valentine's Day we'd go on a date together, and we took turns planning it. So one year the women would plan it, and then the next year the guys would plan it, and then the next year the women would plan it, and then the guys would plan it, and we try to one up each other so that it would get better every year.
Yeah.
And I remember this was the first one you say.
Yeah.
The women organized this one, and they rented mopeds. And so we went out riding around the island on mopeds. And so we pretended like we had a little biker gang on mopeds.
Yeah.
And we stopped at this pizza place that I can't remember the name of. This really good
In
pizza
Wailea,
place.
yeah. I can't remember. It was
Good pizza.
New
We
York.
went there all the time.
And,
What's
yeah.
that called? So anyway, we go to this pizza place, and they have one of these little gumball machines where you put money in, you put coins in, and a little egg case comes out, and inside it has temporary tattoos. So we put temporary tattoos on our shoulders because we were bikers on our mopeds with temporary tattoos, and we were in the rough part of town at that point. We were really.
Oh, the last date we had with them was sad. We had moved here. We just moved here, and we missed
To
them.
California.
They were still in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so we blew up their faces on a big piece of paper and cut them out and glued them on popsicle sticks and drove up to Mount Baldy where there was still snow because we thought that was novel.
We wanted to have a snowball fight with the
Yeah.
Kusamotos.
So yeah, and then
So
filmed it.
So we threw snowballs at their pictures.
Yeah, we were ahead of our time.
I don't know if they-
video.
Yeah. High tech. Yeah, high tech.
That
It was like
years
12
ago.
years ago, yeah.
But we have a weird definition of dates.
That's true. Yeah, we came up early on when we were young, newly married. We're cheap now. We were super cheap back then. Like we would do anything to save money. And so
Yeah, and I think you came up with it when we went to Costco one time. We were trying out the free samples.
Free samples at Costco.
Yeah, and you said, "Hey, this constitutes a date," I think. And I was like, "What are you
anytime
talking
we get
about?"
something free, we're on a date. That became the rule
Yes.
forever after.
Yeah, if we get a free sample, a free handout anywhere.
So that's a little bit weird, but that's our rule for dating.
Very weird.
It has to get something free. So anyway, that's a little insight into the life of the pastor and his marriage. And so if you want to ask us a question, you can put it in the comments here if you're bold, or you can send it to us privately if you want to, and we may shoot this segment again. So anyway, there you go.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. God bless you.
Stay safe.
See you again.